Syracuse hoping to finish what it started this year. Not so much last year, right? They had the great start, 6-0, and 5 straight losses. Hoping that the end of this season goes a little bit better.
The NCAA finished what it started yesterday.
Yes, indeed. As we bring in our good friend Mike McAllister, publisher of allsyracuse.com. All right, Mike, we got to start with this situation involving Tez Walker at North Carolina. Ruled eligible yesterday afternoon, about 48 hours before they're set to play Syracuse. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
I think if the situation was reversed and he was at Syracuse instead of North Carolina, he would not be eligible. Maybe I'm being a little bit skeptical or a little bit conspiracy theorist on that comment, but I just don't have much confidence in the NCAA and their ability to make rulings that are fair. And I think this was likely a result of North Carolina's administration talking to people in the NCAA and the NCAA feeling like there was going to be some sort of action from North Carolina, perhaps on the legal side of things, if this wasn't made relevant and if this wasn't made right. And that's what the quote unquote new information that wasn't previously available that was made them change their mind, so to speak.
All right, so let's break this down from the two schools, right? Let's start with, I guess, North Carolina and what he brings to the table. How much do you expect him to play? How much of an impact do you think he will have on this game?
I think there'll be some impact, even if it's not on the field. I think that there's going to be an emotional boost from North Carolina of having him available. And so I think it's maybe not something you can quantify because I think, having him back, I think it's going to give a boost to the whole team, and they're all going to be like, let's go win one for him type of a situation. And so I do think that hurts Syracuse, not only from what he brings on the field, but, the intangible effect of this situation. But, he was going to be one of their top wide receivers coming into the season. So there's no question that it has an impact and, gives them another receiving threat. I think where it gives Syracuse a disadvantage is that they haven't seen him on film. So since he hasn't played yet, they don't know how North Carolina is going to use him. Are they going to use him in the slot? Are they going to use him outside? Are they going to move him all around? What are they going to do with him? Syracuse doesn't know that, so that gives North Carolina a big strategical advantage, I think. I'm not sure how much he's going to play. I don't know how much, they're counting on him or planning to use him in the game plan this week. Perhaps a benefit is that there is, some rust in that he hasn't played and, maybe there's some chemistry issues at least right away while they work some of those kinks out. But, I definitely think that it helps North Carolina overall.
I will say this, Mike, even if he's just on the field as a decoy, he's still going to draw a lot of attention, right? He steps on the field and, to your point, they don't know where he's going to line up. They don't exactly know how they're going to use him. But if he's on the field, he's going to draw your attention. And so that brings me to the Syracuse portion of this. Again, Paulie and I talked about in that first segment. Like, you do this on a Monday, okay, that team has the entire week to prepare for that change. You do this on a Thursday afternoon, not much you can do. We heard Dino talk about it last night on the Dino Baber show that, they're getting ready to fly to North Carolina today. There's not much they could do at this point. How unfair is it from where you sit that this happened on a Thursday afternoon opposed to a Monday or during the bye week? Let's remember Carolina was on a bye week.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's fair in any respect. I'm not sure it was fair that he was denied immediate eligibility in the first place, and I'm not sure there was a spot where you could have said, okay, he's now eligible again, where it's completely fair for all sides. But there's no question that the way the NCAA decided to do this and when they decided to have it announced, that certainly put Syracuse at more of a disadvantage than it would be if it had come out on Monday. I think Dino's right. There's not much they can really do at this point. They're not going to, decide to re-game plan when they haven't practiced for a certain game plan for that game plan. So it's a tough situation, and it's just another example of how if there's any possible way to screw something up, the NCAA is going to find the best way possible to do that.
I asked Dino yesterday what stands out to him about this team, and this was prior to the Tez Walker news, and everybody knows about Drake May. I assumed he would go to the offense first, but the first thing out of his mouth was actually about the defense. And I guess I would ask you, Mike, is that the biggest change you've seen with this particular Carolina team? Because, they go into a lot of seasons with high expectations, and they never quite seem to live up to those expectations. Is this team different because they're better defensively?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that makes this team dangerous in terms of, being able to compete for an ACC championship. Whenever you have a quarterback the caliber of Drake May, you give yourself a chance to score enough points to be competitive with teams. But what's impressed me about them is not only what they've done defensively, but how balanced they are offensively. I don't think most people would know they actually run the ball more than they throw it. And they've run for almost 700 yards in 4 games. And with 12 touchdowns. So they're averaging 3 rushing touchdowns a game. Most people assume you've got Drake May, you're throwing the ball all over the place. That's not necessarily the case. And only one team has scored over 30 points against them, and that was Appalachian State in an overtime game. So North Carolina has held Power 5 teams under 20 points multiple times this year. So Syracuse is certainly going to have to be ready. And, I think it starts with their ability to stop the run, and they've got some good athletes on the outside to rush the passer as well. But this is a game where the Syracuse offensive line has to come to play. Maybe not the caliber of what they saw last week against Clemson, but it's not like you're going back to Army or Western Michigan or anything like that.
Along those lines, I was going to ask you, do you think the SU offense is able to keep up with the North Carolina offense? Do you expect a shootout tomorrow?
To some extent, but I think both defenses are good enough that it shouldn't be something where you expect the game to be in the high 30s or even the 40s for both teams. Now, does that mean that, North Carolina couldn't suddenly start clicking and put up 35, 38 points against Syracuse? I think they're talented enough that they could do that, but I think in that scenario, it would be tough to expect the Syracuse offense is going to be able to go blow for blow with them. I think Syracuse's best chance to win it is to try to keep the game in the 20s, get a couple of turnovers, and hope that's enough, that you can do enough offensively to come out with a victory.
How do you think this team is going to respond coming off a loss, right? Started 4-0, and last week it just too many mistakes, right? I mean, we talked about it on the Orange Nation TV show on Monday. How do you think mentally this team is going to respond after kind of shooting itself in the foot time and time again against Clemson?
Well, the interesting part about this team is, Dino has made reference to the fact that there's a lot of young players in key positions on this team, but they also have a lot of veteran leaders in key positions on this team. You think about Garrett Schrader, you think about Damian Alford and Marlo Wax and, a bunch of those guys, Justin Barron, Caleb Okechukwu. We could go down the line. So you would hope that would mean, that there would be some resiliency on the part of this team. And we saw some resiliency when they went down 7-0 against Western Michigan. We saw some resiliency when things didn't go their way at times at Purdue. So your hope is that speaks to the culture of the program and that they're going to come back and give a really strong effort at North Carolina. But, it's so hard to predict the mental part of this game, and that's why games aren't played on paper. But I'd like to think that they're going to come out and, be focused and ready to go and, give a good effort so that the game is competitive on Saturday.
Can I get a prediction out of you? Who do you think wins and why?
Yeah, and I think I said this on our TV show earlier in the week, but I have it somewhere around 31-21 North Carolina, somewhere around there, a 7 to 10 point game. I think it's one of those games that, is going to be close for most of it, but North Carolina puts up a late score, mid to late fourth quarter to kind of put it up to a 2-score game and put the game out of reach. But all in all, I do expect that Syracuse will be competitive in this game and, give themselves a chance in the fourth quarter, but they've got to be able to make some of the plays that they didn't make against Clemson when those opportunities present themselves.
And then lastly, how excited are you to work with one Pauly Sibilia tomorrow on the pregame?
It'll be the highlight of my career. There's no question about that.
I agree. I'm 100% with you.
All right, you guys are going to be out at Rockies beginning at 12:30 tomorrow, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so come see us, come hang out, and it'll be fun. We'll talk about Cuse, North Carolina. We'll hang out. There'll be prize wheel and all those types of things. So come chat with us, come hang out with us, and we'd love to see you.
All right, Mike, and then we'll see you on the TV side of things on Monday.
He's better promoting our stuff than I am. Thanks, Mike.
Mike, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
I'm going to spin the prize wheel. I need a new T-shirt or something.
Mike McAllister, publisher of AllSyracuse.com. You guys, are you going to be out there for
An hour.
An hour, okay.
1 hour.
12:30 to 1:30.
Yes. Then I'm out.
Okay.
I'll sign autographs.
Is that on the prize wheel?
Yes. Yes. Whatever you win, I'll sign. And the price will devalue.
All right, let's hit a timeout here. Phone line's back open if you want to check in until 1 o'clock.
I got a snarky question for you, Steve. Could Syracuse play mistake football and win this game?
I think it's harder to do that on the road. I know you're going back to what I said. I still stand by what I said last week. I was not predicting 15 mistakes. I said, do they have to play perfect? They didn't have to play perfect to win that game. Even after that disastrous start, they got it back to 14-7. And, there were moments in that game where you felt like, all right, a play here or play there.
I got bold statement for you. This team can't make mistakes against anybody. You gotta be good.
Yeah, you got to be good. You don't
are there going to be holding penalties? Yes.
There's a difference between good and perfect.
One turnover against Clemson is enough to kill you. You can't make a turnover against Clemson, and it's hard not to.
Again, I will go back to last week. They made 2 of them right off the bat, dug themselves a 14-0 deficit, and the game wasn't over, right? My point is there's a difference between good and perfect. I don't think they have to be perfect. It's harder to make up for mistakes on the road, though.
Strive for perfect, and then you deal with what's next. That's my life motto.
How's that working out for you?
Not great. I'm sitting here with you.
It's not a bad consolation prize, is it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Man, you're in a mood today.
Strive for perfect, end up with Stephen Fonte.
That's your motto. Yeah. All right. Phone lines open the rest of hour number 1. Back after this on ESPN Radio.